Hi guys, I'm Bob Murphy again, and today we're going to do a short presentation on pressure. Just pressure for now. Why is this important to you? Well, I appreciate in your exams there are questions. I appreciate we're taking balloons up and down, and you're thinking, hey, I don't take balloons up and down. True, you don't do that. However, it's very important to you, for example, when you want to calculate how much gas you're going to use on a dive, knowing the pressure at depth becomes very, very important. So we're going to work out the pressure at depth. We have three pressures we need to know about. We have gauge pressure, ambient pressure, and absolute pressure. These two here are the same number. Yeah? For our purposes, these are the same number. Now, this one here is simply knowing the definition of gauge pressure. So let's have a look at this thing. We're going to look at these things both in fresh and salt water. So something you can do when you get into your exam situation, if you're not comfortable with this, is you can get a drawing on the board, something like this, or on your scratch paper, which you're given. Yeah. Now I'm going to do my salt water on this side, because my salt water is actually easier, as we'll find out in a moment, and my fresh water on this side. Yeah. Now if you're going into your exam situation, you probably only need to do the saltwater version, something you saw in your open water course. So let's have a look. These are the numbers that I'm given, and actually PADI are very, very generous in the exam. They give you these numbers here. Yeah. We don't care at this stage about the weight of fresh or salt water. That's the reason actually that the pressure is different. We do care about these numbers here though. Yeah. It's up to you which one you use. Yeah. So if I, for example, go to salt water, I'm going to do gauge pressure. So I go into salt water. These are my two numbers. I can use either one of those. Yeah, they give me the same answer. So I go, hey, I'm 10 meters underwater. What's the gauge pressure? So I ignore the atmosphere. The gauge pressure is 10 times 0.1 or 10 divided by 10. So quite obviously it's 1 atmosphere. Now hold on, you quite often will see, if it is gauge pressure, you'll see a G on the end. But just to remind yourselves, or to remind me, I'm going to put that atmosphere's gauge. Easy. Let's go to 20 meters. Again, this was a thing in your open water book. 20 meters, divide by 10, whatever you want to do. And we've got 2 atmospheres gauge. And choose a random number. We'll go to 73 meters. And we say, hey, 73 meters divided by 10 atmospheres gauge. Yeah. So watch out for that gauge in your question. Yeah. And for calculation purposes, this is almost the only time you're going to use gauge pressure. Let's take the same thing over to the freshwater side. And I think you can quite plainly see there's a very small difference. So there's going to be a very small difference in these numbers here. But crucial if you're doing calculations. So we go to 10 meters in freshwater. So we go 10 times 0.097. If you need a calculator at this stage, you can do that. Some of us will, some of us won't, doesn't matter. As long as you get the answer right, doesn't matter. Yeah. So now I've got here a little bit less, 0.97 atmospheres gauge. Let's copy the numbers across. At 20 meters, I've got, I'll take the calculator. Quite simply, 1.94 atmospheres gauge. And let's go to 73 meters. So we go 73. And that's 7. In this particular case, 0.81 atmospheres gauge. Quite simple. And the numbers are given. Okay. Let's move on then. I'm going to wipe this one. So if you need to screenshot that, although I doubt you do need to screenshot, you do have the, you're welcome to do that. I'm going to take away these numbers. We're going to move on to the one that you would use for your calculations. The ambient and the absolute pressure. Both actually come out as the same number. Okay. Okay, so let's start in salt water. Now, we've definitely got 1 atmosphere at the surface. Now we are talking here, obviously at sea level. Again, this would be very important. If you knew this to be different, this would change your calculation. You wouldn't be adding this 1 in the end. But all we're going to do here is the same calculation we just did, and then we're going to add the 1 from the atmosphere. Okay, so we go to salt water, we'll do the same numbers. Hey, 10 meters. 10 meters in salt water, here we are, divided by 10. I've got my 1 atmosphere. Don't forget to add the 1 from the surface. So I've got 1 from the 10 and 1 from the surface. And that's something you saw in your open water course. Indeed, you saw this one as well, 20 divided by 10 plus the 1. And this is something that many of you will be very familiar with. And this is very much something you could write down on your scratch paper in your exam. Hey, and you could even write in there 1 atmosphere gauge, 2 atmospheres gauge. Just a reminder, because then when you come to your freshwater calculations, you can have a look and compare them. And your freshwater should only be fractionally smaller than your salt water. So if I go to 10 meters over here, I've got 10 times this plus the 1 from the atmosphere. And you compare the two, you go, cool, I've got that right. Fractionally less. If I go to 20 meters, 20 times this plus the 1 from the atmosphere. And we'll go back to, we'll take a different depth, we'll go back to 87 meters. So I go, okay, 87, in my particular case in salt water, divided by this, plus the 1 from the atmosphere, 9.7 atmospheres. We're not going there, but that's what it is. So I go over here, I'll take 87 meters again, and now I do need my calculator. 87. Oh, cool. It's 8.439. I'm about to write that down. I look and I go, hold on, no it isn't. I've forgotten the 1 from the atmosphere. And that's the classic mistake here. So the answer here is 9.439 atmospheres. And I can double check myself by simply going over here and saying, hey, it's fractionally less. So those of you that are comfortable with the saltwater calculation can immediately say things like, hey, 18 meters, 2.8 atmospheres. 26 meters, 3.6 atmospheres. Many of us are very comfortable with this, way less comfortable with this. As soon as this baby comes out, we forget to add this 1. So this chart over here is very, very helpful when you go into your exam. I hope that clears up a little bit. As I say, they are given to you, but this is the classic one to forget. So I hope that helps a little bit with your PADI exam. But certainly the scratch paper is yours. You can't take it away with you, but you can help yourself out a little bit if you're uncomfortable with this pressure calculation.